What it do? After another multi-month hiatus again from the channel, I want to go away from Smite for a little bit and bring you another one of these should you buy, where I pretty much just review a game, go through all the pillars of, what makes the game good or bad and everything in between, and help you decide should you buy this game. Today's topic is going to be yet another JRPG as per usual. This time, it is Soul Hackers 2, released August of this year, 2022, by Atlus, the same people who bring you Megami Tensei and, more iconically, Persona. If you've ever seen these before or you're new, it's just the classics of what I do here. I'll go through the gameplay, the story, everything else, spoiler free of course, and help you decide, is this game good, is it bad, and most importantly, should you buy it? So without further ado, let's just jump right into the gameplay loop. The game follows you as the main protagonist, Ringo, who is joined in the game by 3 different human allies with different abilities who join your party. Progression is tied to different story-based quests where you move between save zones for different services such as item and equipment shops, and a lot of your time within the actual game will be spent in the dungeon. The dungeon is where you can end up running into different demons, and that's where we get to see the battle system. Battles in this game are purely turn-based, with each side getting a set of actions where you can use both standard attacks and skills that use up MP. The different attacks you can get are based on which demon you have, and if you've ever played a Megami Tensei game before, you should be no stranger to having demon summoning as a part of the game, which I will get into later. A core element of this combat system is exploiting weaknesses, which will not only let you deal more damage, but add points to a stack, which will turn into a Sabbath at the end of your turn. Basically, once you strike a weakness, you get one number on your stack. The more stacks you get, the stronger your Sabbath will be, which will be more damage that you do at the end of your turn. Some demons can even learn and use tandem skills, which will add another effect to the Sabbath, such as healing you, giving you MP back, or even inflicting status effects. Another layer to this combat you can get is commander skills, which Ringo can use to, completely swap out everyone's demons, do a whole bunch of other crazy stuff, add additional turns, cool stuff like that. Overall, I was pretty happy with the combat system in this game. I don't think it's something that's gonna blow you away, but I think as a basic turn-based game, also a part of a sub-series of a much bigger series, I think it does alright. I never feel like it's too tedious or too long. There's never enemies that have too much health or are too tanky. There were never enemies that were too hard, but I didn't feel like I was just breezing through it. A lot of this game also does tie into which demons you have on your party, which I'll get into later, and obviously it does have a big impact on how good you are and how good your team is going to be. But even throughout the mid game, towards the late game, I never felt like I was slogging through the game where I was completely stomping everything. There were parts where I felt like I was maybe a little too strong at times, but that was right after I got a freshly made team and upgraded everything in my comp. Overall, the gameplay is pretty good. Again, it's not going to blow you away, but for what it is, I think it's really nice. It does the job done. It's nice, it's turn-based, simple, not too hard to understand either. And towards the end, you get to have a lot of strategy in it, if you want to go all out and get a really good Sabbath, if you want to sit back and heal, and you can even unlock different skills where you can add Sabbath stacks just for healing and stuff like that. So, overall, pretty good. I like the gameplay loop. As with other Megami Tensei games in the series, we have demons which can be summoned and then combined to make brand new demons. So you don't just have characters that are weapon and then that's it. You have demons which you can attach to them which affect what skills you use, your weaknesses, your health, your attack stat. All that cool stuff is attached to which demon you have onto a certain character. I really like this system. And it helps again that this is my introduction to a Megami Tensei game because I've never really had something like that before. The closest I have is those little companions in Final Fantasy 13 2. Again, great game by the way, trust me. But I digress on that. So what I like is how it sort of forces you to change your playstyle and your party as time goes on. You can't just be stuck with this one really good build and then have that carry you all the way through. You have to upgrade, you have to combine your demons and level them up all throughout the game. And I think it's really cool having to force the player to adapt. I think it's a pretty cool system for the most, especially the combining part. I think they could explain a little more, Like if you're combining two demons and you want to pass on a move, it can't be a move that the new demon is weak to, for example. Stuff like that being explained would be cool, but overall, again, I'm a fan of having, being able to switch out different demons to different characters to give them different stats and everything. The whole combination system where you execute them and combine them to make a new one. Again, it's really cool, and it's cool seeing which new ones you can create as well. The part that falls flat though is negotiation. Basically, in these types of games, you have to negotiate and, convince the demon to join you. The problem is, in this game, it's so much more, just less interactive. After I started playing Persona, you have to actually talk to the demon, it's not a guarantee that they're going to join your party, and you have to say the right things to get them to join you. In this game, you walk up to them, you give them health, you give them money, and then they join you. It's not like too big of a deal, but seeing the difference in interaction is pretty jarring. You get some funny voice lines, you get funny dialogue and stuff in Persona, and seeing it as this is just such a boring shift. Maybe it's less tedious overall, but I like the little bit of personality that having the actual negotiation that goes on in games like Persona. Overall, again, I'm a fan of the whole demons and summoning. It's a whole big part of the series as a whole, and you know what? I really enjoy it. It could just be a little more refined in this game. Before we start getting into anything negative, we'll keep up the positivity train with the story and the characters. Obviously, I don't want to get too deep into the story because, no spoilers here, but I'll give a nice little brief overview and my thoughts on it. When it comes to the characters, I think the characters are actually really cool. Outside of the main cast, you're not really going to find much. There's not really too much to it. But the main four, especially Ringo, they're all really cool. Ringo's an awesome protagonist, and it's cool having an actual speaking protagonist in a Megami Tensei game. Different from Persona, stuff like that, but I think that's cool. Saizo, Arrow, Milady, I think they're all really cool characters. Their mileage will vary, but again, I think they're all good contributions to the squad. And all, even, playing through them in the game, seeing them in the story, they're all really nice. It's pretty cool. As far as the story goes, I think it kind of just follows a pretty, how would you say, predictable beat. I don't think it's anything crazy. Again, that's probably the way I describe a lot of this game, in fact, is that it's like, you're not gonna blow anyone's mind, it's not gonna win any awards for it, but it does it well. The story beats are fine, there's enough in it to keep you interested. Is it anything that's gonna blow you out of the water? I don't really know. I'd veer on the edge of being not. As I was going through the story, you can kind of see where it was leading, see what was gonna happen. Some things, I could retell you the story. I think it's remarkable enough that I could retell most of the story beats. But again, I'm not gonna put it on a big giant pedestal and praise it for being anything too crazy. Again, like the combat loop, really good, does what it needs to do. Again, but you're not really gonna be like, this is a game of the year type of material story. The time for negativity is unfortunately here. The first thing where I can say that is just not good about this game right here is the level design. So it's been stated before that this is a more budget title out of the series, and it really shows in the level design. Basically, level design is you walk forward, you go left, maybe there's an item, you go right, that's the right path to go. There's no sense of exploration. You just go a separate path, get an item. See, maybe there's like a demon there who's gonna give you a special item. That's about it. But aside from that, the visuals are just they just don't do it. One of the things that's cool is you see all these different areas, especially with the juxtaposition between the hub areas where you buy stuff and the actual combat dungeons. It's night and day. Like where you go buy everything at shops, it's just so lively. It has this nice futuristic cyberpunk look to it. Get to the dungeons and they all just kind of look all the same. It all just kind of blobs together. There's nothing else to it. It hurts with the fact that some of the areas are even just kind of copy paste together. I think there's one area in the game called Subway Line 14. Looks exactly like an area you've been before, called Central Line. It's literally just a subway, there's nothing else to it. Even the first area in the game, the West Shipping Yard, later on, towards the end of the game, you go to East Shipping Yard, and guess what it looks like? It looks like the West one that you started out in, just with a different layout. What makes this even worse is you don't actually even see enemies in the field. They're just like these weird red robot things. And it's like, there's just no life into the level design. Not in a sense of exploration, not in a sense of visuals, it's just not there. It's a shame too, because you have such a nice, cool concept, this whole cyberpunk idea going on. And they show that they can do it with how good the hub areas look, but you get to the dungeon, it's all just drab. It's just pretty boring. Again, definitely not a fan of the level design. I think everyone can agree that it's just not good. To carry along this thought, we'll have the audio and visuals, which I would say are underwhelming at best. You have a really cool concept here, again, this whole cyberpunk theme going on, but all the visuals outside of the hub are it's just a blob, there's nothing really there. Unfortunately, this issue carries over with the audio. Now, I don't know the exact name of the studio that worked on this and composed for it. I think it's like Monica or something. It's headed by Keiichi Okabe. If you've ever played any of the Nier games, you know that guy has some pretty crazy soundtracks. So to have this extremely boring soundtrack is just so jarring, I think. Because again, I'll replay Nier and I'm like, oh my god, all these songs are so crazy, they have all this awesome orchestral stuff going on. Then you come here, and it's like the same track for everything. It doesn't matter what area you're in, it doesn't matter which dungeon you're in. You're listening to the same music, and there's just nothing cool to it. There's no difference, it's all boring. And that's, I think, a real shame for a game that could have such potential with this design, You have this cool concept, and then you get to the actual meat of it, both audio-wise and visual-wise, and it's just so boring. Again, it's not gonna break the game, but you really feel the fact that it's a budget game more than anything. If you thought all those concepts before were bad, oh man, it just gets even worse in the Soul Matrix. So basically, every character outside of Ringo has a area for themselves called the Soul Matrix. Basically, it's this area where you get through these different gates, fight these different end bosses, and you'll unlock different skills for your different party members. Problem is, it's literally everything bad about the game in one section. So there's nothing different about any of them. You walk through, and I mean, they're even more bland than the regular world dungeons out there. The music's not different, the level design's not different, the visuals aren't different. And one of the characters even sort of baits you into thinking they'll actually be, different. He says, oh man, just wait till you get into my Soul Matrix. You step in and, it just looks like every other Soul Matrix in the game. Again, it's a matter of missed potential, I think. You could have had specific areas tied to the character's past to be their Matrix, Go through their past, because that's a pretty heavy part of the game. It just makes sense. I mean, that's kind of the whole concept of the Soul Matrix. Not only that, maybe even add some specific enemies to these areas. Item specific things for different characters. Like maybe in Arrow's Matrix, you can get a really cool weapon for him for his comp and get some cool accessories or something for him. But they don't do it. It's just boring. All you want to do for this part of the game, you high level yourself up, over level, run through it, and then you're done. At least it's not mandatory. It does help though. The skills are really nice. And if you want to get the true ending of the game and beat the true final boss, you have to go through this. You have to get and complete Soul Level 4 of every Matrix, so... And it's the basic part of the game where it's all just not good. It's everything bad about the game wrapped up into one area, and, it puts you to sleep. I really dislike this part of the game. When it comes to the post-game and the whole quests and all side quests and everything, it isn't really anything special either. The quests are, I think they're actually not too bad because they kind of add a little bit to the story. But overall, gameplay-wise, they're nothing too crazy. I don't think it's a wonderfully great quest, side quest system, but, it's not bad. I enjoy it. Post game though, I wouldn't really even be able to tell you. I beat the game, and then I think that's really it. There's not really anything after. You have new game plus, but like that's not really post game. It's not like there's stuff to do after you beat the story. So to wrap up our final topic, the DLC, yeah, don't buy it. It was hard to come to a verdict on this game. On one hand, I had, a pretty good time. I think I had a lot of fun playing through the game. And the few parts that I think are really good, are really well done and are the most important parts of the game. But everything else outside of it just kind of falls a little flat, if not underwhelming and mediocre at best. At least, it does get what it needs to do right. Gameplay, story, characters, the basic things, at least those are really good. Again, it's just everything else around where I look back in a retrospective and I'm just kind of like, was it really that good? If I had to rate this on a scale of like 1 to 10, I'd say that's like a 7, 7.5 at the very most, and it's like best days. It's like, it's fun, it's good, but there is a ton that I think they could improve on, especially if they had a much bigger budget. Now, when it comes to is it worth it, I'd say, honestly, I think it needs a sale to be worth it. Again, I had fun with the game, but did I really think it was the $70 that I paid for it worth? Because I got like some deluxe edition with the DLC. Was it really worth that full 70? I don't know. I had fun with it, yes, but again, I think it's more of a get it when it's on sale. Even if it's just a little one, I think it's much more worth the money. Yeah, and it was hard to sort of rank, fun, gameplay, story, all that. The important stuff's good. Everything else just kind of falls flat. Feels boring at times. At the very worst. Overall, it's a good game. It's not going to be Persona, and it shouldn't have to be because two different games, two different series, two completely different budgets. But it's a fun experience all on its own, and I'd recommend it on a sale. So that's it for today's Should You Buy of Soul Hackers 2. I'll see y'all in the next game. Again, if there's any recommendations and stuff, especially these types of games, I'm open for anything. Gotta expand our horizons on this channel. I'll see y'all next time.